Hello and welcome to today's podcast, Surviving Betrayal. Today I want to talk about who to tell, who to confide in. This is quite an important one. If you've already confided in people, you'll know what I mean. If you're all new to this, just be careful. Sometimes when it happens, we can be in so much shock we actually don't tell anyone for a while. I think because we can't actually face it ourselves and we can't actually get the words out, and that will happen, and that's quite normal. However, there'll come a time when we have to tell people, or we feel we need to say something because perhaps our family are noticing a difference in us, or our friends, or even work people. Who you tell is actually really important, and how much. Just remember that not everyone will respond to you the way you want. Some people are really great, they're very compassionate, understanding, they just let you speak, they don't judge. They don't judge you. They even don't judge the person who betrayed you. They just listen. But those people are actually rare. Most people will have some opinion on it. And sometimes people even try and shut you down, like they don't want to talk about it with you. It's too close to maybe some stuff they've had, or they're just really uncomfortable with it. And you need to read the signs. It's kind of like you'll feel it because you feel like you're talking to a wall and there's no emotion coming back. And that's when I need you to think about it, whether you really want to confide in this person and to be talking to them in the next few months or however long it takes for you to heal. In some ways, it's easier to talk to a stranger, I think, because they're just going to listen. I think that's what strangers do, and also counsellors and therapists, and then they give you some strategies to cope. When you are in a close family unit and your partner betrays you, when you tell them about the affair, it's going to colour how they see that person. And that's going to make a problem for if you want to go back together. Now they might actually feel different about your partner, and that's going to be difficult for everybody. And they might not be in the place that they can actually let that go and forgive the other person. And that's one of the reasons why you need to decide who you're going to tell. If you feel like your mum and dad won't forgive them and won't cope with it, just take some time and decide what you want to do. I think it's important because it's going to affect the future if you want to stay together. If you're going to end it and you already know that, I suppose it's not such a big problem. But if you're undecided or you're thinking you might try and repair it, be careful. Mostly people will be shocked. I remember when I told a few people, they just kept saying, no, that didn't happen. No, he would never have done that. No, he didn't. I can't believe it. No, not him. And I was actually dealing with them and their shock, which really surprised me. They just wouldn't almost believe me. They couldn't believe the image they had of him went with what I was telling them. I mean, eventually they believed me, but you'll find they'll often be in their own sort of denial because the picture they had of that person now is completely destroyed as well. The other thing is that they might say things to you like, oh, I always thought he was dodgy or she was like that, and that's going to make problems for you later if you go back with them. Sometimes people confide then back to you and they tell you things you maybe didn't want to hear or say damaging things for the future. The other thing people do is to judge. They will judge the other person, and they actually will often judge the one who's been betrayed and sort of put it on you, like, well, maybe, you should have made more effort, or these sort of things, and you just do not need that. Because betrayal is about the person deceiving you, and lies and distrust that you have now. They broke the trust and they broke the promise to be with you. That's what betrayal is, whether it's through a partner, a family, a friend, or with work and business. They still broke that one with you, and you're the one who's actually hurting. Some people will be very, very supportive, and I want you to gravitate to them. They will just be there for you. They'll just listen. You can cry on their shoulder. You can rant and rave and call the person every name under the sun. They won't stop you. They will just let you, almost like a therapist, let you just get it all out. And they're the best people to be with. The other consideration is confidence. Some people are really good at keeping a secret. Some people are really bad. Work out who's going to tell everyone in the office and don't tell them. Even if they're like a close friend, just be quiet unless you want everyone else to know. And initially, we won't want everyone to know. I felt ashamed I felt shame and I felt humiliated, which was really weird because I didn't actually do anything wrong, but that's how I felt. It sort of it was their shame, but the shame sort of reflected, in a sense, onto me, and I felt low in self-esteem and all those things that particularly betrayal makes you feel when someone betrays you. If you have those feelings, it's very important also not to be with anyone who makes you feel worse about yourself. You're already feeling pretty bad about the whole thing. Do not be with those kind of people. If you are a religious person, it's not a bad idea to talk to a priest, because I think they can give some kind of confidential guidance to you, and they're used to dealing with these things, and it sort of has a stop. You talk to them, but it never goes any further. If you've got friends who will not talk to anyone else about it, you can speak to them as well. Betrayal's a little bit like abuse. People don't like it, and they're not comfortable with it, and they will actually not want to talk about it with you, and they want you to finish it off or end it, or can we talk about something different? And you need to read those signs. They'll usually change the subject. Sometimes they'll leave the room, they'll get up and make a coffee, they'll put some physical distance when they're uncomfortable, and that's a clue to you and a sign to you to be quiet. This person doesn't really want to do this, and it's okay. I'll just shut up and we'll talk about curtains or something and your next trip, and I'll just find some other person or way to process this. It's not because they don't love you, it's just that people have their own feelings around it. And if they've been betrayed too, it's going to bring up their own stuff. And I think sometimes people haven't told other people what's happened to them in their betrayals. And when you bring it up, it sort of stirs it all up and they want to shut it down, because they're not only shutting you down, they're shutting their own stuff down. Where you are working, where you're living, your home situation, that's going to make a big difference too about who you manage to be able to speak to. I think it's important to have a few friends that you can talk to and a few people you can speak to, because you'll need that. Maybe not at the very beginning while you're still in shock, but later on you will, because I'll notice there's a difference in you. You'll also have to deal with the really weird one is when you are out and about and you meet people who know the other person. In my situation, my husband had died. It all happened around the same time. He died soon after the affair. And I would meet people at the shops and they'd go, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear about your husband. Oh, he was such a wonderful man. What a beautiful man he was." And I'd be standing there thinking, "Oh, God, if only you knew." And I just say, "Oh, it's nice that you think that," or "It's good you have that memory," because you have to remember that people are seeing the version that you actually used to see. They're not seeing the other version. And then you decide who you tell and who you didn't tell. I only told a few close people, and then I told a select number of people. If I got close to people, I told them because they would realise there was an issue there around that time when he passed, and why there's still a little bit of an issue there, so I explained it to them. I found they were uncomfortable to a degree, but I thought if I'm going to stay in a relationship with you, I want to actually be honest with you as well. These are close relationships too. These are people who you share the closeness, not like the neighbour or, someone on the school committee. It won't be that person. It'll be someone you've actually had a relationship with before that's very close, and now you're with them and it's close again. People's reactions will really alarm and stun you. I was actually, I was really surprised by people's reactions. Mostly it's a numbness and they're in shock and don't believe you. And it's actually not that they don't believe you, they just in the first stages where you were, so you have to be not patient with them. And then they'll often decide to take a side. If they take your side and you're the one who's been betrayed, that's okay, even if they've been friends with both people. If they take both sides, then it's going to be a bit more complicated. But, we all make mistakes and we all mess up. And we're not all perfect people, so everyone knows that. It's important for you to have a little group around you, I think. I know you feel really alone, but that's why I'm doing this podcast, because I'm out here in Australia and I know what you feel like. And it takes a long time to heal from it. It's taken me years to heal from it, really. And, I still have my moments, I'm afraid. But you do heal from it. And eventually you can come to a place of acceptance and forgiveness. But don't expect just to do it right now, because honestly, with all those emotions, it would just be words. It would just be a head thing. It won't be a heart thing. So get your little group, get your counsellors, therapists, priests, whoever you need around you, get your people on the phone. But make sure that if you're a person who's very private, that you don't tell anyone that you know will tell other people. It's better to ring up someone on a phone line, a helpline, than to tell someone like that, because that's going to actually affect your relationship with them. I hope you can find a little group of people around you. I hope you can get the support you need. And remember to trust your instincts. You get a feeling about people. One of the biggest clues I found is when people tell you what are quite intimate or detailed things about other friends of theirs or family members, then you know that possibly they won't keep your confidence. If they say to you, I'm telling you this, but if the person was here, they tell you the same thing, that is different. And I'll often say that with people so they understand that if the person was sitting at the coffee table, they'd tell you what I'm just telling you because I'm sharing something. But mostly that's a really good sign for you. If they're talking about other people, they'll be actually probably talking about you. And I always had this rule that if I wanted their partner or husband or family members to know it all, I'd say. But if I didn't tell them, because I just know as soon as they got home, they couldn't help telling their partner. Everyone's different. I, when told something that was a secret or was asked not to say anything, even to my husband, I wouldn't do that, because that relationship was between me, unless this information was going to affect our relationship in some way. You might not do that. You might tell your partner everything. I think that's a choice you make. I think sometimes when people are really in high need and they're not quite ready to tell everyone, you can be the first stop that they tell. And then by them being able to tell you in a safe space, then they'll find it easier to tell someone else. I actually think that really, it kind of helps, because telling other people is pretty excruciating and it's pretty hard to do. And as I said earlier, I felt embarrassed and ashamed and humiliated and really disappointed. Better to take your time in who to tell and how much as well. You can just give them the short version, not the long version, just so they know what page you're on, and you might not even talk about it again with certain people, and they might never ask you how you are because they actually don't want to really know. But your really good friends will be ringing you and making you a cake and taking you for coffee and things, and even if they don't speak about it every 5 minutes, you know they're there for you. And that's the most important thing, to get emotional support now, because you can't always get it from the person now who's betrayed you. They won't be able to emotionally support you properly, because firstly your walls will be up and your emotions will be high. So I'm wishing this choice of who you speak to helps you, because I think it's quite an important one, especially long term. So I'm sending you lots of love and healing, and I'm really sorry that you're listening to this podcast, because if you are, you're hurting, and that's not a good thing. Okay, take care and look after yourself.